Man's focus is power and position. God's way is submission. Whoops, a little different. What's the emphasis? Man's emphasis is on rights and freedoms. God's way is personal responsibility. Man's desire is to gain for self, and God's way is to meet the needs of others. Man's concern is, of course, immediate fulfillment. God's way is lasting achievement. Do you see a divergence here? A little different perspective. Man's yearning is for the praise of men. We don't like to admit it, but it's certainly true. God's way is the approval of God. Man's aspiration is to be served. God's way is to serve others. Man's need is to push ahead. God's way is for patience. Man's striving is to lead men. God's way is to follow God. Man's interest is for competition. God's way is cooperation. Man's motivation is to self-glorification, and of course, God's motivation is God's glory. You can make many different lists like this, but clearly as we try to put ourselves in God's perspective, we get quite a different perspective of life itself.